All right. All right. Let me know in the chat, as always, if I am streaming right now, if we are live. I would like to get a thumbs up or all good or something like that. So, again, we're using some new stuff on my computer, new software, and I just need to know that I did it correct. So I will not get started with the questions until I get a thumbs up or something similar. All right, there we go. Muy bien, as they say. Boy, did I take a lot of Spanish when I was in school. You'd think I'd speak Spanish much better than I already do. It's unbelievable how much Spanish I took. Anyway, as always, if you have a question, ask in the chat. I will get to it. And so let's get started. It is a massively rainy day here in London. It's been rainy all week. It's been cool. So yesterday, one of the kids that I work with, who is a college football player, we did a Prowler workout that was horrible. We did a mile of Prowler work, so about a half mile each, two plates and a 25 on each side of the Prowler. We just took turns. The first half mile was about 21 minutes and the second was 20 minutes. Holy cow. We both got our asses kicked a little bit. So, and to make it worse, on Tuesday, the young man that I train with and train, I guess, too, his Tuesday and Wednesday training was insane. His legs were absolutely smoked. How he got through yesterday, I have no idea. But that's why he's an elite athlete, and that's why I barely survived. All right, here we go. Now I'm looking at the chat right now. There's like little crowns and numbers. I don't understand what that is by someone's name, but whatever. As usual with most technology and stuff, I just ignore it and hope it goes away. So, all right, here we go. Nick asks, kids, multiple sports, never off season, how much leg assistance and conditioning should you consider? Is squat and trap bar deadlift enough to strengthen their legs? Are your sports enough to condition them? So let's take this one by one. How much leg assistance should you use? This will vary greatly from athlete to athlete and vary greatly based on what they are doing during their season. There's no way I can answer that. There's some kids who are in insane shape and maybe their practices aren't terribly demanding on them, both just legs and physically in general. So I would say as an example is when we are in season, we just do the trap bar deadlift, we cut out the squat. But if we played, for example, football during 12 months out of the year, we would have to add the squat in, and I would somehow program that to allow them to squat within the season without killing them. So and I would probably recommend little bouts of maybe some single leg work for X amount of weeks, especially maybe at the beginning of a sports season, so their body can kind of adapt over time, right? Other thing, I would definitely throw in some glute ham raises. That would be a priority assistance exercise. I would put those in year round. Doesn't have to be a lot of volume. I would probably do those if I'm training twice a week. I would do them twice a week. And the volume would be low enough, right, that they're able to recover and they get used to it. So there might be a little soreness at the beginning, but you got to let your body adapt to that stuff. As far as conditioning, I don't know, like you say, conditioning, like, again, if they're horribly out of shape, you're going to have to do some stuff on your own. Again, I don't know. I would assume you say they're in season. They're probably practicing 5 to 6 days a week, including the games and stuff like that. It would also depend on what they are doing with their practice and stuff. And the other thing is, if I was, had a 3 to 4 sport athlete, we would do some kind of speed work. Now, speed work, again, is not conditioning. We'd work on get-offs, stuff like that, massive amount of rest. You probably only need 5 to 10 reps, so to speak. It wouldn't be enough to smoke them, but I would probably put that in too. And that would be, again, I know that would be part of their lifting or GPP sort of that we're doing, so that we always get some speed work in. I would add jumping in as long as they're not doing a ton of jumping during their practice. So for example, if they are currently playing basketball, I would probably not do in-season jumping, but off-season or during other sports, I would probably put that in there. How much in what you're doing, it's going to vary greatly on the athlete. Some kids can do some kind of bounding, which is a little more stressful. But at the very least, we would do some box jumps, which I know is not plyometric, but I didn't say plyometric. I say some kind of jumping. I still think that's important. The other thing I would do is I would introduce a nightly routine, 5 to 10 minutes of some kind of stretching and mobility to help them recover. But that's one of the curses of playing a lot of sports is you have to be smart enough to train. If you don't know what to do, I would just do the squat, the trap bar, deadlift. I would auto-regulate their work on the lower body lifts so that they're recovering. And I'd always do some kind of, obviously, abdominal work and glute ham raises for their, I guess you'd say, their core or lower body. So that's a tough thing to answer. It really is. All right, M46 says, hey, Jim, in 531 book is this story. It is something a friend of mine would do, and I think it's incredibly awesome. The full body, 5 sets of 5, 3 times a week. I like this. Can you please tell me more about this and his results? Well, he was a 500-pound bencher, and probably... so unless you're already at your peak strength, where you want to be, he had no interest in moving up with any of his lifts. He just wanted to do the lifts basically and get the hell out. So if you have no interest, like you're already fully muscular and you're already kind of where you need to be, I can see that being appropriate for a small bit, but I also think it's going to be very stressful, especially over a long period of time. So I would, again, unless you're as strong as you want to be, and you have as much muscle that you need, then that's fine for a short amount of time. But I would not do that if you want to get stronger and you need to have more muscle mass. So it's a fun thing to do, and it's a fun thing to kind of think about. But for the average dude, this guy was unbelievably powerful, and he's one of those guys that didn't have to. Not saying he didn't work at it, but it would take me another 10 years to be as strong as him, and he was just kind of like that. It's unfortunate that some of us, and I'm not behooving myself, but it's, when you got to work so hard to bench something big, and he just does it naturally and just kind of hangs out and does it. It's fun. It's crazy what some humans are capable of. It's unbelievable. So, all right, here we go. JBJ says, hey Jim, I was discussing proper programming for the Walrus, and my friend, who is a calisthenics guy, said for GPP I should do less sets rounds every day rather than more sets 3 days a week. Well, first of all, 99% of people don't get that luxury. 99% of people have to adjust their training around their life, and not everyone can train, has the GPP, to train every single day. So we talk about GPP, but some people, let's say you haven't really done much, every single day is going to ruin you. So that's why you start with 2 to 3 days a week, and then once your body adapts over several months, then we can start adding stuff. So it's kind of a loaded statement because it depends on the person. The other thing is injuries. And, let's say, for example, someone has like I have a bad shoulder. I can't always do what I want to do. So there's limitations physically. And so I don't know that there is some merit to that. I like training every single day. I think you can do, like you said, less sets and less rounds. But I don't think that's applicable to everyone. And to say that the only way to raise your GPP is to do that, I would, in fact, here's something: you train 3 days a week, Walrus style stuff, and then the 4 days a week you're doing different stuff. You're rucking, you're climbing stairs, you're doing bike sprints, you're doing the Prowler and the sled, stuff like that. I think that's just as good. I think that is just as good. I think more people, especially average normal guys who maybe want to do walrus stuff, I think they need to do some of that other crazy, I want to say crazy stuff, but essentially other things other than, squats, push-ups, chin-ups, some kettlebell work. And I say, like, even the last 2 or 3 weeks since I've been training Zach, we do some stuff together, and I already feel better rather than sticking to like what I usually do. It's really awesome having a buddy. I'll tell you what, not just a guy, but a guy who's willing to basically die to do the Prowler or some of the stairs stuff that we do. I mean, that kid works his ass off, and it's very inspiring. But it's nice to be able to do different things. The broader your physical activities, the better off you're going to be. I know I've said that a million times, but I think it's super important to do that rather than just doing the same things over and over again. There is value in that, especially with a non-negotiable challenge where you need like a good discipline check, so to speak, that way you don't have to think about it. But for an overall fitness thing, it's improve your fitness based by doing different things. So there you go. Jeff Chin. Look at that. He called me boss. Jeff knows what's up. Oh my God. I watched a movie the other day and someone called someone boss, and I was so excited. I saw the movie Havoc last night with Tom Hardy. Not a very good movie, let's just be honest. Definitely not. I love Tom Hardy. I think he's a wonderful actor. If you're going to rate Havoc, it's definitely in the lower 2 or 3 movies he's done. But it was still a ridiculous fun movie as long as you suspend any kind of belief with any kind of... It's very violent, very violent. But, the other thing that really I hated was the amount of CGI was unbelievable. It's so bad. It is so bad. Shoot on location. That's all I have to say. All right, here we go. Jeff Chin says or asks, hey, boss, I had a friend ask to come work out with me at my home gym. He hasn't actively worked out in a while. Oh, great. So you got to do all the fucking work. Well, he just soaks it in. Sorry, I don't like that. I try to come up with something moderate that would leave him feeling better. There you go. After the workout and not worse and beat down. Very good, Jeff. You're already on my good side. You call me boss, and then you think like an adult. Ended up doing 20 to 30 minute weighted vest walk. All right, and then 3 to 5 sets of backward and then forward sled pulls. Wonderful. I want to keep encouraging my friend to work out, right? And want to have some workout ideas on hand. Do you have any suggestions? I've got a power rack, barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, sled. I was thinking more walrus stuff. So here's the thing, Jeff. I love walrus training, but I don't think it's right for everyone, especially for someone that's has not done a lot of strength training, or in this case, hasn't really done a lot. You said he hasn't actively worked out in a while, because I think one of the drawbacks of walrus is you're not building strength so much. Yes, you can get stronger and all that stuff, but I think walrus stuff really, really works well when you've got a really good base of strength, really good base of just general physical activity, and then you can just kind of have some fun with that stuff, and you actually feel better because you're not pushing the high-end weights. So if I would probably recommend, Jeff, and I don't know how often he wants to train, but I would say at the minimum, I would do 2 days of proper weight training, okay? And here's what I would do. This is the bare minimum, Jeff. You can screw around with this. I would have 1 day. I assume he wants to bench press. Definitely bench press is a big main lift, okay? Everyone wants to bench. And then depending on what he can do physically, I would either choose the squat, the deadlift, or the trap bar or something like that. Some kind of major lower body exercise. Okay, I would treat especially the squat, deadlift, or trap bar, I would treat it, just make sure he's understanding the form, and you don't have to like rush to put on weight. We're just looking for good reps, okay? On the bench press, I assume he's probably bench pressed before and has some experience with that. Just don't max him out, have him do, between, I'd say 5 to 15 reps on the bench, and then on the squat, bench, or squat and deadlift and trap bar, I would keep the reps maybe around 5 to 8, but I'd rather see him as an example as he's learning how to do the lifts. If he could do a set of 10, say a set of 12, At 225, I'd rather see him 2 good sets of 5 and just let him learn how to set up. Everything's good. I wouldn't want to put him in a fatigued state on the squat or deadlift early on. Okay, so you might have to do a couple more sets and that stuff like that. That is fine. So I would have at least 2 of those days. And again, I train with some kids that want to come in and just train a little bit. Some athletes. Our weight training work rarely, unless we're screwing around and having a good time, usually lasts between 30 and 45 minutes. The 45 minutes is really if we're just kind of screwing around. But if we're generally training hard, we got a good rhythm going, it doesn't take that much. All right, we get a lot of work done in a short amount of time without turning it into a conditioning session. That is the other thing. So I would have so one day bench, I know I'm going on. One day trap bar squat, something like that. And then you can do like a full body style of assistance where you can start having some fun. If he wants to try this assistance exercise or this one, just have some fun. Doesn't have to be crazy. I would keep the weighted vest walking. Let's see how long. So keep that in. You can keep the sled drags in maybe for after either the weight vest walking or after the training. But that's what I would probably do. Super awesome job though, Jeff. I mean, I know you called me boss. I'm already I kind of love you anyway, but just be smart about it. But I would put some general strength stuff in. If he does want to do some Walrus style stuff, then just have him do it after the main lift. But I think people need to develop a base of strength. All right, here we go. Mailman James says, do you or your wife experience growing pains with boys training? Yeah, sometimes. The hard part is sometimes they don't understand, like some things are going to ache a little bit. And then if you're going to be injured, I don't know. It's very hard. That's one of the best things about football is football teaches kids that sometimes you're going to have little aches and pains. You're going to live. You're going to be fine. It's not a big deal. So again, that's our experience with it, but I think it comes through a lens of football. So it's a little bit different. He goes on, does Mailman James says, my son often complains of discomfort in the patella tendon area of both knees. Okay, that's normal. We just limit body weight squats and drag sled for lower. My thoughts. Also trying to work on empty trap bar form to see if that's another option. So here's a couple things that I would do. Is one, the trap bar generally takes care of a lot of that. Because you're not obviously going as deep, even on the low handles, which we mostly use the low handles unless for whatever reason the kid has to use the high handles. That usually takes care of it. Obviously, the technique would become in the form and stuff like that. You may have to get a shoe with a heel. That sometimes takes care of that issue too. Or what we use, we just put plates underneath the kids' heels. That's a non-negotiable for some kids. If they are going to squat here at London, some of the kids will use the raised heel. So James squats better with a slightly raised heel, so we bought him shoes, not exactly Olympic lifting shoes, but specific shoes that allow him to do that. Okay. The other thing I would do is foam roll the IT band. I think that seems to help a lot of knee issues. That is another thing. Knee sleeves might work very well. The other thing is I would teach him how to do a box squat. It would always be above parallel. And make sure that he's sitting back, opening up. He's not just doing it like a regular squat. So teach him well. I think box squats for the knees are unbelievable. If you have any kind of knee issues, as long as you do it correctly. In fact, some of the kids I work with in college, we only use the box squat during their time with me because we're doing all kinds of other crazy stuff, and I don't need that kind of soreness. So let's see if there's anything else. I would probably lower the volume on the lower body work. So again, for example, it's lower the volume as in like the weight training. So we don't do any single leg work or anything like that. And I would try to get some hamstring work in too, and see if that helps it. So I hope that helps, Mailman James. It's just kind of this training young people is very hard to do because you're dealing with so many unknowns. It really is. So as always, just err on the side of lighter loading, and you're just learning and you're building habits. All right. It's amazing what happens. Like people think that our kids are so successful on the football field because we're so much stronger, and it's not just, it's the real reason is we have great habits in our football program. Our habits are unbelievable. Our standards are very high. I think that's the true reason why. So, all right, Gary 169 says, I finally have access to a Prowler, but indoors. All right, on a 15-yard stretch. Very good. I went nuts on short bursts yesterday and was humbled. Yeah. Wanted to add Prowler for years because of you. Thank you, and now I'm pumped. Thanks for all you do. Well, that is great. The Prowler is, and I've said this before, for everyone from, when James was very young, we used the Prowler as a stimulus for just overall leg strength and just general physical preparedness. I use it because it's very easy on my body. And then Zach, the kid I work with, who is a super stud football player, he uses it. So it crosses a lot of boundaries, which I love. The other crazy thing, and I never really don't know exactly how to say this, but after we did, for example, a mile of Prowler work, my legs are smoked, that you never get sore. But the other crazy thing is I don't get super tight after I do it. I feel much looser. And I assume it's because that there's no eccentric phase and you don't get sore. But there is an amazing difference in my hip mobility and how my knees feel and all that stuff. I just feel looser. So I'm sure there's a lot of things going on there, but that's one of the greatest things about the Prowler. Now, I'm going to tell you, I still think the squat is the king. But listen, if you can't do stuff like that anymore, I'm telling you, go push the Prowler, get your body used to it, understand how it feels, and put together some insane Prowler sessions. You might be surprised what it does to you, not just body-wise, but mind-wise. I just got my ass handed to me yesterday. I got to text Zach today to see. It always makes me feel better when he's dead, so I don't feel so bad. But I've said this before, that's the only thing I'm at least equal with Zach with is the Prowler. And everything else, he absolutely smokes me. For example, we did 30 stairs in less than 30 minutes the other day. I had my 20-pound ruck. Zach had like over 65 pounds, and he was just completely fine. And I just hated him for it. And I just make fun of him. But anyway. All right, here we go. Jonathan Crossley says, thanks for putting this on again. Well, thank you for watching. All right, here we go. He says, I apologize. You're forgiven. If you've mentioned it somewhere before, but what are your thoughts on using a weighted dip or a weighted pull-up as a main movement, provided 65% of your training max is at least body weight? I'm sure there's ways to do it, Jonathan. I had kind of a way to do it as far as, I wrote about this, and it's not the standard 5-3-1 program. You have 85% weight, 90 just basically light, medium, and heavy, and you just go for total reps. So, for example, the light day you would do 50, the medium day you would do 35 total reps, and then the heavy day you would do 25. You can try it. I am not a huge fan of that. I don't know. I just always had better results with the assistance work, but maybe because the volume's a little bit higher and stuff like that. So if I were to, I would have a heavy day, a medium day, and a light day. And again, the heavy day, you do 25 total reps. The reps per set don't count. You got to get 25, 35 on the medium day, and 50 on the light day. And that's probably the bare minimum reps. I like personally, I like pushing that a little higher sometimes. I'm always doing pull-ups and chin-ups. And when I was doing, 2 sessions a day, at least most of the time, one of those sessions was with extra weight other than 20 pounds. The one thing I've learned at least with me with the pull-up, I was able to maintain like a 106-pound pull-up year-round by only going as heavy as basically 70 pounds and doing that for singles and doubles. So I think there is some kind of value in that sub-max kind of, I want to say explosive. I would probably do 10 sets of 2, right? Because I'm doing 10 rounds each round. The pull-up, I got about 73 pounds in there. But I'm not taking that stuff to failure. All those reps were just 100% good. Full range, bring it up. Always alternating your grip. You got to get good at different grips when you're doing pull-ups during the training. And then when you test out, you can choose whatever grip that you want. I got to tell you, early this week, James and I were training. He had already done, I can't remember, but he was doing pull-ups, and we needed to get to 50 total pull-ups. He had already done 30, and then he said, "Hey, Dad, can I just finish this in a set?" And I said, "Well, if you do, you're gonna break your record." His record was 17. I said, "You've already done 30. We've done other lifts during this time." And I tell you what, that kid did 20 reps in a row. Totally impressed. And I'm telling you, he doesn't do any reps, generally over 3 to 5 reps per set with his body weight. So there is something to sub-maximal, higher volume style of pull-ups. I would assume it works for dips too. I wish I could tell you I can't do dips. So anyway, so I guess, Jonathan, you can give it a shot. I'm just, I don't have a ton of experience with exactly that. I know I wrote something very specific about the 50, 35, 25. I just don't remember how I chose the weights. The only thing you need to remember, Jonathan, is you can choose arbitrary weights as long as you start light and progress slow. So it doesn't have to be exact as long as you can smoke the reps. And if I were you, I would probably put a time limit on each of those days. So maybe 20 minutes to finish that, or, something like that. That way, if the training's too heavy yeah. So, all right, here we go. Richard Stewart says, "Hey Jim, how would you structure a full body dynamic day?" I'm not sure what you're asking about that. What do you mean a full body dynamic day? So Richard, you're going to have to be a lot more clear. I don't know what that means. Full body dynamic day. Like, you're talking about like dynamic squats or something like that, or so you're going to have to be a little more clear. Hit me up in the chat and we'll figure that out. Ryan D says, "Hey Jim, week 2 of asking if we can get a Jim Wendler life and philosophy book. Give the people what they want." I understand, some of this stuff. I get it, man. I just, the older I get, the more humbled I am about how dumb I am, how dumb I used to be. God, did I make some bad decisions. And I'm so happy I'm alive. Not like I was, jumping out of an airplane shooting heroin or anything like that. But man, some of the dumb stuff I've done. So anyway, yeah, I don't know, maybe. So, and the Walrus book, I'm working on that. So, all right, here we go. TBE Vingti. I don't know what that is, but whatever. T-Beving. Okay. So I'm benching 385. That's pretty impressive. And I want to bench 405. I fail right now off the chest. Most people do. That's the strength curve. I know my triceps are strong because I have done 405 with 50 pounds of chained to a 2 board. Okay. Chest exercises. Well, you're going to have to hit the full range movements, my friend. So that's number 1. A lot of dumbbell work where you pause at the bottom and you don't do this. You get down there and stretch. I don't really care if it's flat, 45, 60. That's number 1. Number 2, you're going to have to do the same thing with either push-up handles, or you can use straps, but it's got to go a little bit farther. I use exclusive push-up handles that I built. Unbelievable for getting that pop off the chest. I would not just do regular push-ups, but you need to do that. You need to do them both weighted and unweighted. So I would use a vest. The one thing I always did was I would put a green band, put it around my neck, obviously the band in each hand, and just do at least 5 to 8 sets to failure. But making sure that you're going all the way down, you have a good pause, and then you learn how to accelerate to the top. That's the most important thing. As I like to tell the kids, you have to learn how to accelerate through the triceps. You got to learn to get through the fatigue by speed. Number 3 is I would do overhead presses or something like that. We also do Bradford presses. Get that, and I would bodybuild the hell out of that too. All these exercises, I would highly recommend sets of 8 to 35, 8 to 40. I'm telling you, you got to hit some of those higher reps. Don't just do sets of 3 to 5 or 8 reps. Man, if I can hit some crazy shit, lower the rest periods then sometimes. The other thing is I would do some light flies. You don't have nothing that's going to hurt your shoulder, but again, high reps, and you need to bodybuild the hell out of your upper body. I mean, you got to get that thing massive. And so I would, if I could go back again, I would keep in the maximal effort work. So I'm always practicing quick, fast singles or triples or something like that. And everything else, I would just bodybuild my upper body until I looked like an absolute superhero. So that's what I would highly recommend you do. And learn how, like I say, outrace your triceps during the fatigue of all the supplemental lifts. Don't just lift to lift. You got to learn how to pop and get the whatever it is you're doing, push-ups, anything like that. You got to learn how to drive fast. There's got to be a very intense reaction off the bottom, because that's where you're weakest, and then you need to, so now mentally you're doing a fast, strong rep every single time. Don't just do this. Fucking dig in and go. It drives me nuts when people just kind of do stuff. Then don't do it. If you're not going to do it right, don't do it. So good luck. Gain some muscle. Look like a dude. Learn how to pop fast off your chest, and you'll be good. Outrace the triceps. Alan Arohu says, hey Jim, if I'm training just for looks, what's the best way to run 5-3-1? On a diet. That's the most important thing, bar none. You're already lifting. Any general lifting program will work as long as it's somewhat progressive and you're doing stuff and you're always consistent. But 1,000% is going to be on what you eat and how you eat. And it's going to take you some time. You're not going to look like, I don't know who's like super handsome anymore, shredded, but you're going to have to diet. That's the most important thing. I don't think it matters very much as long with what 5-3-1 template you're doing. I think it matters 100% of how you eat. Learn how to eat. I am telling you, it will make a big difference, bar none. And just train hard. Don't kill yourself, but always train. Always be consistent. Be smart with your training. Make sure you're doing some kind of easy conditioning 2 or 3 times a week, and I think you'd be good to go. But again, Alan, you got to learn how to eat, man. You have to learn how to eat. All right, that's a life skill. Just like swimming, you got to learn how to make good decisions with your food, guys. Not everyone has to do it. I'll be honest. When I was very good with my diet through high school and college. Once I started powerlifting, I didn't really care because I just needed to gain weight. Fine. When I got a little older and needed to lose weight and I needed to feel better, I just went right back to the great habits that I've learned over the years, and I tweaked a few things based on my current situation or how I felt. It's a life skill you need to learn, people, and you need to teach your kids that shit too. So I'll tell you one thing, James drives me bananas. I love the kid to death. He drives me bananas. One thing he does very, very well is he moderates his eating. He doesn't overeat, and he knows that he can't eat certain crap. I'll give him some credit because dude, no one's, if he wants something, I'll usually get it to him. But I always like, hey, you want something? He's like, no, I can't. I can't eat like that. So he's like, I already had something, yesterday, so it's not good for me. I was like, you know what? You're learning, kid. That's a life skill, and that's on his mom. His mom does a terrific job. Okay. Serpiente Brain says, hey, some of these questions. Now, I understand but I think I like doing this. Serpiente Brains, listen, people need kind of a personal touch. I'm more than happy to do this. I don't have that big of an ego that people are going to read all this stuff that I've done. That's just the way it goes. So nothing wrong with asking questions, guys. That doesn't mean I'm not going to kick you in the banana, But, all right, here we go. Pablo Martin Dominguez says, thank you for sharing your time. Well, thank you for attending the lecture. Any tips and tricks on how to recover from sciatic pain? I have been doing a lot of 45-degree back extensions, but any extra help is very appreciated. Well, Pablo, listen, I have, amongst a million other things, I have sciatic pain. I'm going to tell you right now, of all this shit that I've had, sciatic pain, as much as it's shitty, I'm glad that's all I'm really dealing with right now. So I know this sounds bad, but thank your lucky stars, it's not worse. That's all I'm going to say, right? Okay, because it can be worse, and I am kind of been training my ass off, doing all kinds of stuff, and I have sciatic pain, and I can live through that shit, so just be thankful. I know that sounds like a dickhead thing to say. I'm not trying to be all tough guy, but it could be worse. So there's a couple things. There's a lot of stretches that I think help, and there's a lot of stretches that will aggravate it. So you have to be okay with taking shit out, all right? Number 2 is the one thing I've noticed, go to, oh my God, I hope I remember this. Go to Yoga Body. That's the name of the YouTube channel, and they have he takes you through a sciatic pain session. Do that. Number 3, here, I'm going to do this. Look at this. I'm going to use there is a stretch. It's really not a stretch. You just lay. So you lay on your stomach, okay? And beep, your leg is out to the side, all right? Knee bent. Oh boy, but just remember, you're on your stomach. I'm sorry, you're on your stomach. You know, just laying here and your leg is up like you're kind of jumping over a hurdle, so to speak. I learned that from a guy's like a YouTube channel named Bob and Brad. It's like instant sciatic relief. I'll hold it for 3 to 5 minutes each side. You just lay there. I think it helps much better to do it on the floor, not on the bed. The other thing is, I'm going to tell you, the 45-degree back extensions, if they aggravate it, stop doing it. The number 3 thing I did was you're going to have to find shit that you can do. For example, the Air 9 bike was awesome for me. Didn't aggravate it. The Prowler aggravates it. I still do the Prowler because I'm like, I don't really care. I'll deal with the pain. The other thing is, and they say this in just about every yoga thing or anything like that, any rehab thing, is movement is medicine. So you have to find the things you can do and just do them. So even if it's like a little weird, like for me, the dragging the sled with straps is great for me. I just train the shit out of that when I have to. I don't know what number I'm on. Let's just pretend it's number 4. Strengthen your abs, okay? And just the general, the McGill 3, I guess they call that. I'm not sure. I do those. I just do 2 sets of each thing every day. I had to vary it quite a bit because of the pain. I can't do everything exactly how they did it, but I've worked to get there. The other thing is, with strengthening my midsection, is I do the 8-point plank from foundation training. If you do it correctly, it looks really easy, but if you do it right, it'll actually really strengthen that area. So all those things I would recommend. But the key, I really think, is do the yoga body sciatic pain thing. It's like 10 or 15 minutes or something. Doesn't take very long. It's super easy. You take it, make sure you do it to your pain levels. And then again, Bob and Brad, if they have a YouTube channel and they have like a position where you just kind of hang out there for a little bit, you don't really have to do anything. And that's about for me, they say 90 seconds, but I just, I'm American. Everything's got to be like a million more. So I do 3 to 5 minutes. Ironically, in the yoga body video, he does the Bob and Brad hold. And so it helps tremendously. Before Zach and I went and did the Prowler training yesterday, I did all my rehab stuff. I never miss a day. And I also did my my weird Bob and Brad hold things, and I felt amazing. Felt amazing until I felt like I was going to die. Hey, good luck, Pablo. And remember, don't do any... sometimes the back raises aggravate my SI joint, so I just don't do them. So the other thing I should probably say, Pablo, man, I'm really going on and on. I also do foundation training every day. It's the new 12-minute video that's out. I do that every single day. Again, I have to vary stuff based on my pain tolerance and what I can do, but I think that helps greatly. So there you go. Good luck, brother. Be patient. Alan Walker says, hey, boss. Okay, how would you progress Walrus workouts? Increasing the weight or the volume? You can do both. Just would depend greatly on the human being. And one more question. Would you recommend jump rope before and after the Walrus sessions just for additional GPP? I would do it. You can do it before. You can do it after. You can do it during. For example, this is something I used to do quite a bit of, is jump rope for 50 and then do my 3 Walrus exercises. And I would put that as part of 50 to 100, I should say. And that would be part of my circuit, okay? I love doing that stuff. Absolutely love it. You can do it before, after, or during. I don't think it really matters that much. If you suck at jumping rope, I think it's better that you do it as part of your circuit. And again, if you really stink, like, listen, I'm just going to try and get 10 great jumps every round. If it's, just giving an example, it could be whatever you want. But I think if you really stink at it, you can do it before, just kind of get warmed up, during, and then maybe after. Just watch the volume on the jump rope because of your shins. You have to be so make sure you start light and progress slow. Again, how to progress the Walrus workouts. Yeah, you can increase the weight on some and then increase the volume on other workouts. There's not just a right answer, right? For example, when I first started doing it, I didn't need to increase the weight because I was already fairly strong. It's not going to help me. So I had to increase the volume. And so that's one of the things that I've done is, so even though it would be easy for me to increase the weight, I needed to work on the volume, but that doesn't mean you can't do both at different times. Listen, the most important thing, guys, with the Walrus work is you have a base training session that you know you can do. So if something comes up, everything else, man, you got to learn how to be creative and have some fun, okay? As an example, I go in there one day, I'm like, fuck it. Every time I do a round, I'm going to do a pull-up with, this is the dumbest chin-up thing I've ever done. I just did... what was it? 108-pound pull-up every round. So I had the 20-pound vest and 88. So every round I just did one chin-up. Why? I don't know. It just seemed like something kick-ass to do, right? Oh, me. Look at Mason. He's calling me. What a dick. You're not even watching this, Mason. All right. So doesn't mean you can only do one, Alan. So be as creative and have as much fun as you can. You don't get so rigid in how you do stuff, guys. All right. If you want to do kettlebell swings, and you feel good, and maybe you're doing like the 70 for sets of 10, you're like, you know what? These final 3 rounds, I'm going to do the 88. I'm going to do a set of 20 on each one. All right. But I didn't write it down. It's not part of the logical progression. Who cares? Do it. You feel great. Fucking try it. All right. So don't be so rigid in this stuff, guys. You got to be creative. Have fun. Do something stupid occasionally, even if it's for 1 or 2 rounds, it's fine. Everything doesn't have to be like this, guys. Have some fun. All right, I'm not mad at you, Alan. I just don't want you to get so wrapped up in like, I have to do 6 reps. And then I got to do 7 reps. And like that, just fucking go have some fun, man. So I talked to Mason the other day. His last, I think 3 rounds, he was doing this thing. He's like, I tried to do all my reps for each exercises in 1 round. So he was doing 20 dips, 60 squats or whatever it was, and 15 pull-ups. I don't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. But man, it's fun. Now you have another challenge to do, all right? So be creative. Zach Russell says, morning, Jim. What are your thoughts about behind the neck presses? If you want to do them, that's fine. Obviously, they don't give you dick cancer, right? I don't think everyone is suited for it. I would never want to do it. If I was going back, for example, to my younger days, I wouldn't do them. I don't think that there's any kind of magic between those things. I really don't. They're fun to do, and I think people romanticize about it because some of the old school guys did it. But if you watch a lot of the videos of the old school guys, not everyone went all the way down. They would just come down to their arm was about 90 degrees and press up, which to me seems like a lot of tricep work. Anyway, what are you going to do? Bill Coyne says, hey, Jim, a word of appreciation. Thank you, Bill. Oh, he's going to go on. I thought you just wanted to say, okay. Last week, you talked about lifting with aggression. Yeah, I took that into my training later that day and squatted 700 for the first time without knee wraps. Big thanks. That is a huge squat. That is very awesome, Bill. I appreciate it. Listen, the one thing I always try to tell the kids, and I thought I did a very good job of, even when I was young, is when I was doing the main lifts, I did them with a ton of aggression. Most of my assistance work, I just kind of had some fun. Obviously, not all the time that I was kind of stupid with that shit. But I always made sure when I was doing the bench, squat, trap bar, cleans, deadlifts, anything like that, I was aggressive and I was very angry when I lifted. All right. You don't want to, kill yourself with emotion and stuff like that. But I see way too many people treating their barbell lifts and they're training like they're in physics class, like AP physics, where everything's got to be, man, lift like a dude. All right. Lift like you got a giant pair of brass knickknacks. There you go. But awesome, Bill. Very cool. 700, no joke, man, especially without knee wraps. Ken B says, where are we? It was 10:45. Okay, says, morning, Jim. You stated squat is king. Does front squat also fit into that statement? I have subbed, front squat for my main lift and would like to hear your thoughts on this. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The hardest thing with the front squat, honestly, is obviously the position, like the rack position. And if you're good with that, The thing that is very tough is, I think it's your rhomboids that kind of get tired. I'm not sure, but you end up folding a little bit. So one of the things that with the front squat is you can't kind of grind squats out like you can in the back squat. And so yeah, nothing wrong with the front squat. I know people like to, you hear stuff like, if I could only do 6 lifts, it would be the front squat. You know, never the back squat. Why would you waste time? Front squat rule. And they only do that to be contrarian. Listen, if you can front squat awesome, you want to do it, Ken, I can go for it. Right? I do not care. I don't think it matters. If you want a high bar, low bar, wide stance, low, medium stance, close stance, box squat, safety squat bar, doesn't really matter. I don't think it matters. And I know like that's not going to get me any cool points, right? Because I have to take a stand. It's back squats or nothing. No! My nipples need back squats. Oh, it drives. I cannot stand anyone. Oh, I'm so glad I live out in the middle of nowhere. Just scream at everyone. I'm joking. I don't really care that much, but I just think it's ridiculous. People who maybe don't have the experience start, these hyper focusing on what some idiot says, and it's like it doesn't matter that much. As I've said before, if people don't like the trap bar or the front squat or whatever, listen, if you trap bar 900 pounds, you're fucking strong. No one gives a shit that it was with the trap bar. At least no one, worth a shit, gives a shit. All right, here we go. Ryan D says, my 2 cents, I've made a lot of mistakes and I'm more humble, is why the book would be great. You're not a blowhard. Well, thank you. Oh, I cannot stand blowhards. Ooh-wee. But thank you. I appreciate it. I just lost my place here. I'm sorry. But thank you, Ryan. You're right. I mean, I guess I do have something to offer. I don't know. I just, I need to be a better father. I definitely need to be a better husband. And I got to get my ass in gear. And I've said this before, I'm not trying to be morbid. At the very best, I probably have 25 years left. And it's like, man, I really need to do a better job at some of this shit. I really do. So I'm much like you guys. It's like you kind of take some days for granted. I don't, not like I used to. Let's put it that way. But, I feel bad for people who are in their 60s, 70s, who aren't married or don't have kids and stuff like that. I wouldn't want to die alone. I want to be with my, even if I died technically alone, I'm still got family. And I just think that's tough, man. I wouldn't want to be in that situation where you get so closed off from the world and you get so angry, or God forbid you have kids and, I don't make as much money. I just don't, that doesn't make any sense to me. Never will. Like, your job is to fucking be good and raise good kids and give back. So it's like listen, I think people should work hard. I think, the world runs on a lot of those crazy people, but majority of us, this hustle lifestyle or whatever you want to say where, you got to go, you got to work 14 hours. It's just whatever, man. You go ahead and do it, but I'd rather make less money and spend more time with my kids. Osiris, says, good morning, Jim. I thought you, all right, never mind. Would you run 5-3-1 for a straight year or years? Yes, our kids do it for 6 years. Curious if you would adjust anything for different stimulus. Yeah, your training max. Yep, and your assistance work and your supplemental work. You can do as much as you want and different stuff with that. So yeah, 5-3-1 isn't just like this, and this. You can adjust everything based on what your needs are, whether you want to be more, build more muscle, if you want to get in a little better condition, if you're a little bit older, if you want to kind of maintain for a little bit and do other stuff outside. That's kind of why I created this style of training. So yes, I think you're a little narrow in what you believe the 5-3-1 program to be. Let's put it that way. Zach Wagner says, what do you do for your players for hex bar deadlifts? I thought I heard you say 315 rep for a test. Is that correct? Our kids deadlift relatively light. Yes, most of our kids deadlifts are between, training wise. You'd have to read about how we do it. We have to do our trap bar deadlifts a little different because we got 60 kids. I cannot have them changing weights there's 4 kids at a bar. I can't have them training weights, trading and removing weights for 3 sets. So each kid has they just have one weight on week 1, one weight on week 2, and one weight on week 3. And the way that I did it was I set up deadlift groups so that the weight changes are super easy. There's a way that I did that so you don't have to grab the 5s and the 2.5s. So yes, our training max, for example, if a kid, most of our kids that can deadlift 345 to 365 for 10 reps, the majority of their reps are their sets are either 225, 245, and 265. That's when they get to that range. I know those kids, the way that we train, I know that they can pull at least 345 for 10 in that area, at least. That's how light we train our kids because we do things right. I don't smoke the kids. Bar speed is good. Our reps are good, all that other stuff. So yes, we deadlift. The only time we did the 315 rep thing was just as a fun thing. It was one time we've done that. So Black John says, hello, Jim. Greetings from Greece. All right. Thank you for watching, man. That's cool. That's cool. Joshua Hannum says, hey, Jim, I am training for an ultra marathon. Woo! With 30,000 feet of ascent, how would I periodize the climbing in a training plan? Seems like not a lot of great information from ultra runners on this. I don't know. I would, this is something you probably have to be hands-on, training here and stuff like that. If I were you, I would train twice a day. Twice a week. This is going to be very general, Josh. I'd have one day like bench press and then like full body assistance, but I don't know how much lower body stuff I do outside of like hamstring work. And then my other day would be either the squat or the trap bar. I would probably limit the squatting. I would probably do the trap bar and then in like full body style assistance. All the upper body stuff would be essentially kind of bodybuilding, get a pump, stuff like that. And then the other, I don't know what you would need to do, like training for, climbing and stuff like that, but I would probably use some kind of like hill walk, something. I would do one kind of dedicated hill kind of workout, stuff like that. I don't know what you would do, but what we would probably do if you were here, put a 20-pound vest on and we would climb stairs, or we have hills not too far from me that we would just climb and just get your legs in shape. You'd have to climb up and go down like that. And then I would probably also do a day of sled and prowler work. And again, I don't know, like there's more to this than just the training, but I would probably do those things like that. But again, I wouldn't, on your trap bar day, I wouldn't kill you. We just have good solid reps. I wouldn't look to put on like, your deadlift of 500 pounds. As long as you're good, strong enough to a certain point, we would just maintain that and make sure that you're not screwing up your training outside the weight room. So that's the other thing I would do. And it's very difficult. If I was going to train in like Josh, you or something, it would be a learning experience, but you just have to kind of auto-regulate some of that lower body work so that because essentially when you're climbing stairs or hills, that's strength work. When you're doing the prowler, that's strength work. So I wouldn't smoke you on the trap bar stuff. Keep your back fresh too. That's super important too. Anyway, I also do some hamstring stuff. Again, you might do some single leg stuff really early on, some high rep stuff. It could be something as simple as I'd probably choose some kind of machine thing where you're doing leg presses, maybe sets 100, 200, and 300. It wouldn't have to be obviously very heavy to develop some of that conditioning that's necessary. Obviously, lunges might work, I think, but the problem with that, the soreness gets really bad. So that might be something you might do where you might be doing, 400 yards rest, 400 yards, stuff like that. You'd have to work yourself up to that. So, but just general strength training, I think, is probably your best bet. Just being smart with it. I know it's 10:55. I got a lot of questions, Josh, but that's really out of my purview. But I do know that just general strength is good. And then you're going to have to be smart about how you train on those days, because you have to account for your training on the other days. You can't smoke yourself in the weight room and then screw yourself out on the skill stuff. So super important to remember. Joe King says, I've done a total body split out of necessity, but I like more of an upper lower split. Should I go with what I like or gut through the total body? I would do both. And as long as you want to do the upper lower, just do it, man. Whatever. Don't matter. Don't matter. Listen, Joe, unless like you're training for something specifically, as long as something gets you in the weight room and you have fun, you're good to go. Jeff Chin. So Jeff Chin. I'm Jeff's boss, by the way. Here he talks about to Joshua about the ultra marathon. He says, I really wish I knew about heavy sled pulls. There we go in Prowlers when I did I don't know, whatever it is, says R2, whatever, in the Grand Canyon. My coach for that added incline treadmill walks and progressively increased the time. All right, that's something else you could do too. Again, it's really going to be hard for me to answer. Coco! Jimmy, if you could tell more about food consumption, I would love to have awareness of food as to your son and wife. So where to begin? Books, mindsets. Listen, like, you guys don't have to make food. Most diets are basically the same within reason, right? So if it's if the majority of people understand that it's not horrible for you, that's the most important thing. All right. As an example, not a lot of people, some people think like apples and oranges are healthy, reasonably healthy foods for most people. Majority of smart people like to have protein in their diet. That's chicken, beef, eggs, stuff like that. Keep that in. So I just try to have some kind of balance and generally try to eat less carbs during the day. And if I want some high carb stuff or whatever I want, that will be at night. So I try to keep just the crappy breads and stuff like that out of my diet. Doesn't mean I don't ever have them. So it's just trying to make consistently smart decisions over and over and over and over again. You always want to shoot about 90%. So over a course of a month, you eat 5 meals or 4 meals a day or whatever the hell it is. So that's what I think is the best. That's how I've kind of determined it. It's just you use common sense and you try to eat with good habits. And I'm not like, I already know Sunday we're going out and I'm getting a bunch of French fries and cheeseburgers, but for the rest of the time, I'm going to eat very smart. It's not a big deal. It doesn't like disrupt my diet because I try to be consistent about it. I try to be smart about it. And as long as I'm eating at home, I make the good decisions. I'm not going to eat crap while I'm at home. If I have control over it, I take care of it. So I guess that's the best way to think. Again, the best way, like mindset, if there's something that I can control, if it's in my control, I take care of it. If something's out of my control, I don't worry about it. You have control what you stuff in your mouth. For the most part, most adults do, right? So that's something I control. That's something I can take care of. Just like you can take care of how clean and picked up your home is. Totally under your control. So if I can take care of that shit, what your neighbor's yard looks like, you got no control over. So don't worry about it. There you go. There's my mindset. Elo Atsty says, how strong was your squat when you first went to Westside? Did Louis guide your train, or was it mainly you programming for yourself? I think I squatted 920 when I first got there. And the big thing that the programming wasn't a big deal because I already learned about all that stuff, right? The big thing was the little tips and tricks in there. And I've said this a million times before. I had to completely change my squat form. For example, I got to 900 and 920 with squat form that was not that good. It was fine for the general world, fine to get me to 920, but for me to squat 1,000, I had to do some different things. And here's the best way to do it. I am squatting. Something's not feeling right the last couple weeks, months, whatever it was. I asked Todd Brock. Todd Brock, he trained at Westside a long time ago. Those of you that have the old tapes at the Demarest Road know Todd. He's been in those videos. Todd was incredibly smart when it comes to training. I asked Todd, can you come please take a look at my squat on Friday? Todd shows up. He's looking, and he's like, you got to bring your hands in an inch. Bring your hands in an inch. It will take care of everything. Next set, bring my hands in an inch. Everything is taken care of. That's the kind of shit you get at Westside. Now, people will say, well, wouldn't that be nice to have it, when you're younger? Yeah, that's great, but you still got to get brutally strong, guys. All right? And sometimes a lot of that stuff, I'll be completely honest, is kind of dumb because you just got to learn how to suffer, how to get strong, how to eat, how to do, how to lift aggressively. So I think everyone's trying to get the pinky, the bring your pinkies in before they get brutally strong. So that is what to me, the magic of Westside was that kind of experience, helping you go from 920, and I squatted 940, and then I did 1,000. All right, same thing with the bench press. Me and JL Holdsworth, we both learned how to do the bench together. We were just working our asses off, and not having JL was horrible. Until we got together and started training, who I learned from Bill Crawford and the late great Mike Miller. Those guys passed that down and we worked together. So that's kind of, to me, the magic. It wasn't the programming so much. It was having dudes like that who wanted to train hard, who learned how to all the little nitpick shit that we needed. I got to start cruising here. Okay, I got my squat up 75 pounds this year, but I am training for a Hydrox with my friends. How much strength should I expect to lose? And how can I minimize it? Hydrox is like a CrossFit for your information. All right. So it was Hydrox. So this is what I would recommend. I don't know what your name is. It's all kinds of weird letters. One is don't worry about how much strength you lose because it's not in any way a priority unless it affects your performance in Hydrox. So I don't know what Hydrox is. I assume strength is some kind of component. I don't know what they do as far as... if you're doing like a squat movement, as long as you're strong enough to kick ass at the whatever Hydrox is, then I would be okay. I wouldn't worry about it. I don't know if I make it. So as an example, let's say I'm training to be a Green Beret. One of my kids I used to train is going through that right now. So he asked me a few questions. This was last year when he kind of starting to do some of this stuff. I told him, don't worry about how strong your squat is. He's already a 600-pound squatter. You don't have to be increased. It's not going to make a difference for him to squat 600 to 700. All right, it doesn't matter. So as long as your legs are strong enough to compete at the Hydrox, I wouldn't worry. I don't know how much you expect to lose. I have no idea. And honestly, you're worried about the wrong thing. You got to worry about kicking ass at Hydrox. I don't know why I can't remember that. That is the priority. Stop trying to ride, two horses with one ass. All right. So, all right. Black John says, big thanks for the 531 for Busy Men article. It fits perfectly with my Muay Thai. You're very welcome, Black John from Greece. Emil says, good morning, Jim. Okay. Where am I? Okay. Thoughts on a protocol like 100 clap push-ups every day or even every day for a stuck bench press? I would, if I was going to say like exactly this, I don't know what your GPP is like, so 100 clap push-ups every day might not be a smart thing. So I don't know. So some of our kids can easily do 200 push-ups a day and be fine. Other kids, 50 push-ups would kill them. All right. They're just not in great shape. So I don't know about that, but do I think, for example, doing something like that can help? Yes. I don't think it's going to help long term, meaning if you did it for 6 months, I don't think it's going to help. But maybe like a 30-day blitz, it could help, provided that you understand that there's going to be a negative consequence early on. You're going to probably be tired. Shit like that is, your bench press might suffer, and that's fine. That is fine because you're looking at the big picture. So yeah, I think something like that can help. All right. Whether it does help, I don't know. Coco says, man, I just made 8-point plank half Tabata, my first video on YouTube. Man, it works. Thanks. There you go. Love that shit. Bill Coyne says, intuition. Oh boy, did I screw this up. And magic are better than science and logic. All right. Alan calls me boss. All right. Caleb LeBlanc says, do you and your wife have any bands that you both like? My wife enjoys music as much as like the most normal person, doesn't really care. I guess the one band we probably listen to that we can probably both kind of agree on is probably Ghost and the Deftones. So, but she's not really into music like I am. It's the polar opposite. She just puts on whatever, and she's like, I don't know who sings this song. She doesn't care. And that's why my wife and I get along so well. Because she got to see, I mean, my wife was one of the few people that got to see Coffin Worm live. I mean, think about how great of a husband I am. I took her to see Coffin Worm. You know, I don't get enough credit, do I? Howdy, Jim. What is best exercise for shoulders? Side laterals, and how many times a week to work rear laterals? Thanks, BK. Best exercises for shoulders? I don't know. I guess overhead press, dips, bench press. Side laterals are good. Rear laterals, yeah, you'll be good to go. I don't know. I'm not like much into that stuff. I just want to bomb all that shit. That's my answer to everything. I tell the kids, everyone's doing a million. So, side laterals are great. I know people get all weird, like you gotta depress the shoulders and then do this and then you gotta do this, or you're wasting your time. Just like I remember someone said, listen, if you don't have a post-workout meal, you might as well not even train. Great fucking thing. So I'm sure side laterals are good. I don't know. I always thought overhead presses, dips, and any kind of dumbbell work, whether it's flat, incline, stuff like that, inclines work really well too. How many times to work rear laterals? I guess it depends on what you do. Our kids do them 3 times a week, 2 to 3 sets. So we just lay on an incline bench. So you could probably train those a little more frequent because they can't be trained that heavy. When I say work the rear laterals, I assume we mean actual rear laterals and not just like rows and chins and stuff like that. So, all right, I got to start cranking through these. Brandon Fink says, this could be in my head, but I think front squats have helped me to get to parallel on back squats along with box squatting. Used to hate them. The safety squat yoke bar has made them bearable. There you go. Brandon is now a firm believer in the front squat helping him because you had to open up a little bit and drop your hips. All right, Pablo says, thanks for how to deal with sciatica. Yeah, not a problem. Since you mentioned liking a band from Spain, yeah. Oh, Titian blood. Oh, man, that cymbal bleed and just, if anyone, I'm sure anyone who's into metal knows Titian blood, at least I hope to God. They were on, I think their first album came out on Profound Lore. And oh my God, black and gray cover. It's not like, I always want to say 7 churches, but obviously that's possessed. But you're exactly right, Pablo. Titian blood are absolutely awesome. Just, that's how death metal to me should sound. Cheap R1 says, I carb backloaded too. I don't know what you're asking. Just wish some places had breakfast food at night. That's why you make your own food, man. He says, hey, Jim, in regards to training kids, okay, how would you approach athletic training in regards to different age ranges? For example, training 4 to 5 years old, 6 to 9, 10 to 15, and 16 onwards. Thanks. Not sure what you're asking. Obviously, you train the kid on what his current abilities are, and then we always want to get them to a certain point. So it depends on where those kids are. I'll give you right now, a kid who's 6 to 9, those kids will vary greatly. So we just do what we need to do for that kid's training. So some kids might be more advanced to do X, Y, and Z. Other kids are going to do remedial A, B, and C. The most important thing is you're teaching them body movements. You're doing kind of things that normal people would do. So as an example, we set up different like little box things. I don't know how else to say it. Then James would jump, single leg. It's kind of like an obstacle course in our house. We have dip stands. We're putting up a chin-up bar in our house. So he's always doing different stuff. We push sleds, carry weight, stuff like that. So it's hard for me to tell you how to approach athletic training. We try to train in a large variety of ways and just be consistent and just be creative with those kids. You're not just doing squat benches and deadlifts or anything like that. You're working on running, jumping, skipping. Obstacle course are so awesome. You can get to an obstacle course or you go to a play area, you do balance beams and stuff like that, or you do bear crawls. So you can bear crawl on a balance beam, walk backwards. Hopscotch is awesome. Just throwing different, like a ball. So like we're going to throw here. One thing I did with James on his play set, we would throw a very light medicine ball over the play set. That was the goal, to see how high we can get. Anything like that allows kids to be kind of treated as fun stuff, and you got to be consistent. Again, not everything is going to be fun, right? But if most of the time it's enjoyable, the kids will be good. Doesn't have to last more than 10 to 15 minutes. You can do it every single day. So, Josh Hannon says, Jim and Jeff, thank you. Awesome. Heavyweight. Oh, dude, you didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. He says he did not know it was running today. He's been MIA. Heavyweight's a long time practitioner. I appreciate it. You didn't need to do that, bud. All right. I try to give back as much as I've been given in my life. Trust me. Syed Hassan says, Mr. Wendler, if competing in a powerlifting competition, is there a template you would prefer? I would really appreciate putting out this program. I don't have to think much and just get my workout done. Well, that's why I started this, man. I would probably say there's a 5-3-1 for powerlifting. The most important thing, Syed, is your reps on the main lifts are super fast and strong. All right, you're very aggressive and competitive when you do those things. Not every rep is going to be towards the end of your set is going to be super fast and strong, but you have to attempt to push fast and strong. I'd always put some kind of single, not a max, a single in. Usually maybe 2 out of 4 weeks. It's not a max. It's a single. And then for the upper body side, I would do a ton of volume, especially to drive the bar off your chest. That's a lot of shoulder and chest work. Obviously, you'd still want to train your arms and stuff like that. And I would try to build as much muscle in my upper body as possible. The other thing is on the your squat and deadlift days, where you can do this on your other days too. Make sure your low back, hamstrings, and abs are incredibly strong. And finally, I think everyone needs to, not super close to a competition, but when you're in the off season, you need to get your legs super strong. And I would really recommend something very basic like leg press. And I'm talking bomb the shit out of that thing. Stop trying to power lift all your assistants. You got to bodybuild that stuff, guys. And you got to learn how to eat so you get bigger. All right. Heavyweight says he convinced another friend. Oh, shit, I got to start moving here. To buy your book. Thanks you very much, Heavyweight. I appreciate it. Any thoughts on single leg deadlift? It's fine for assistance. I don't think it's going to change the world. So if you want to do that, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. But we went to the Final Four last year at London, and we've never done a single leg deadlift. So I think for some people, I'm sure it's great. But, listen, right? We all kind of agree on that shite, right? Just like if you do tricep extensions like this with one arm, that's good. It's not what's going to make you bench 500, guys. Heavyweight forgot it was Friday. Must be nice. I always get that shit. Must be nice to be able to train during the day. Right. You want to fucking push the Prowler with me for an hour? Good luck. Jake says, if you could have just one, would you go with the X-Vest plate carrier or the Go Ruck? Jake, it would depend on what you're using it for. If you're using it for training, like squats, stuff like that, push-ups, whatever, and want to use a wide variety of different weights, I would use the X-Vest. If you're mostly just going to use 20 pounds and stuff like that, I think the plate carrier is much better because it doesn't sag at all. With the Go Ruck, I think is awesome for walking, but you can always use the X-Vest and plate carrier for walking unless you have some kind of issue like I had. But if I were generally saying, if you're going to vary the weights between, for example, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, if you really want to do that, the X-Vest is where it's at. I love training in a plate carrier because I like shit not sagging sometimes. I actually have a 40-pound, 45 or whatever it is plate carrier too. So when I get back to that, I'll be ready to go. But the Go Ruck to me for my walking has been an absolute game changer for me. Absolutely love the Go Ruck. But I don't think I wouldn't want to squat, do chin-ups and push-ups with that thing on. It would not be that comfortable. So that's my recommendation. So, all right. Pablo says 7 chalices. That's Tishan blood. All right. I was close. 7 churches. It's 7 and the letter C. Heavyweight says, Jim, do you think it would be, where are we at here? Good idea to use the safety squat bar next cycle for FSL after regular bar squats, or would it not make an impact? I think it would make a tremendous impact. I'll be completely honest. If not for anything, then to save your shoulders. If I could go back, in, I don't know, 20 years, if I was going to still squat, I would only use the safety squat bar. I'll be completely honest. I think that bar makes you a dude. It makes you a dude. Just keeps your shoulders strong. Or healthy, I should say. Hey, Jim, this is Joshua. Says, when doing barbell squats, my groin gets super sore, but not so much in my legs. Is that from improper form or what? And how do you fix this? This is a great question that I don't know the answer to, but I'm going to guess, unless your form is really weird, and you're doing a shift or something, it's probably something else that's way out of my scope, but I am guessing it's something like in your hip or glute or something weird like that causes like a weird shift. Or not even a weird shift. So I would be very, very wary of that. I'm going to tell you why, Joshua, because I've seen a lot of guys tear their groin from squatting or, something, and it's never been the same. It's one of those weird injuries that even if you're healed and, feel all better, a lot of times it's never the same. But I am going to guess it is something other than your technique, all right, provided your technique is solid. So the other thing is, Joshua, if I were you, I would try to box squat on a box that's like 2 inches above parallel and see how it feels then. And the other thing you might want to do is use a squat shoe with a heel, or if you currently use a heel, use a flat-toed shoe and then kind of work with your stance a little bit. That might actually help too. But I would probably put you on a box first and just see if that aggravated it. Because if it didn't, I would do that and then figure out what was wrong. See if you can go to like some kind of therapist or something that maybe you could tell him what you're doing. It'd have to be someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, obviously, because that's a whole nother ballgame. But the other thing I would do, Joshua, it's still kind of shitty, until you can kind of narrow it down. The other thing is I'd make sure you do other stuff for your legs other than squatting, like barbell squats. And that would be like leg press, lunges. I'd be interested to know if your groin got fucked up from lunges. That'd be very interesting. Sleds, prowlers, stuff like that. So that just don't injure your groin, Joshua. That's the best thing I can tell you. All right, here we go. Steve Ween says, this is going to be the last question. I am so far over budget right now. I got to get going here. I got stuff to do. Steve says, I've been doing Walrus for a year or so, but recently added rite of passage, which is pretty much kettlebell clean and press for ladders. So weekly, it's rite of passage 3 times and Walrus 2 times and rucking on off days. Sound good? Hell yeah. Don't know what rite of passage is. I understand some kind of kettlebell clean and press. Yes, I think you're solid, man. Very solid. So yeah, you're good to go, man. Like, that's kind of out of my purview a little bit, but it sounds like you're good to go. All right, Joshua says, no groin pain from my lunges. Those blast my legs so weird. So how about this, Josh? But cut out the barbell squats for a little bit. See if you can squat on the box and do all the other shit and see what happens. All right? Just give your brain a break. All right? Listen, I love squatting, guys. I love all that shit. I think it's awesome. But if something is not right, don't worry about it. Train what is trainable. Listen, Joshua, how about this? How about you squat with on a 2-inch box, whatever. Let's say a 16 to 17-inch box. Let's say I got you to do that. You're using the safety squat bar. You're here in the garage. I got you to box squat 550. And then after that, me, and Zach put on 45-pound vest and walked a half mile doing lunges. Do you think you would call your legs weak? Hell no. Hell no. That's what I would probably do, Joshua. I know it doesn't solve your problem, but I just don't want you getting hurt. And I'd want you to go ham loaf. That's my recommendation for you. I got to get rolling, guys, and I got to pee. I'll be completely honest. I'm 50 years old. I got to pee more, so go fuck yourself. All right. Thank you guys so much for being part of this. We had a ton of great questions today. Thank you for all the support, not just today, but over the years. I really appreciate it. It's not lost on me. So you guys, again, if you're going to do something dumb this weekend, enjoy. Do something stupid, conditioning, push yourself, mind, body, all that good stuff. Spend time with family and friends. Love you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you.